Hello and welcome. Today we are going over how to download and install ComfyUI and use it to create not safe for work images. Now, why would you want to do that? There are three main reasons. The first is privacy. By using ComfyUI, you are generating images locally and you do not have to pass any information online. The second reason is pricing. Using online image generators can be quite pricey, especially if you're like me and just like to generate multiple images at a time. And lastly, censorship. A lot of the online platforms are censored and don't allow you to generate images of certain fetishes and whatnot. And by generating the images locally, you can avoid all of that hassle. The first thing we're going to need to do is download ComfyUI. You can download it directly from their website. I also recommend downloading ComfyUI Manager. I will have the link to that below. Once it's installed, run it by clicking on the Run NVIDIA GPU button. You're going to get a command window that appears here, and after it runs, it will load up in your browser. Now from here, you can click on templates and load in one of the image generation templates that are available, but I find that these are not very good for not safe for work images. So I created my own workflow. If you would like a copy of my workflow, you can download it from the link below. Once it's downloaded, you literally just drag the workflow file over to ComfyUI and drop it, and it will load in the workflow. I'll go into detail on each one of these nodes, but before we do that, let's test the generation. Now we can see here that the model successfully loaded and we have Snow White eating an apple. Now let's go into each node so you can understand what everything here actually means. The first node is load checkpoint. Think of checkpoints as models where all the training images have been loaded. The larger the model, the more VRAM your video card will require. Most image models are compatible with 8GB video cards, but depending on the model, or if you're planning on doing video in the future, you will need a video card with more VRAM. You will be able to find different models online. I like using Civet AI. Once you download it, you save it in your ComfyUI/models/checkpoints folder. So if you want realistic images, you want to use a checkpoint that has been trained on realistic images. And if you want like an anime style, you would use a model that has been trained on anime images. The next node here is the clip set last layer. Without getting into too much detail, the reason why it's -2 instead of anything else is because the community has found that the -2 gives the models the best result. Next, we're going to talk about the latent image. This is the resolution that the image is going to be generated in. You have your width, your height, and your batch size. The batch size is how many images get generated at once. I personally like to use 4, but this is really up to personal preference, and it will depend on the hardware that you have as well if you want to go up in numbers. It's important to note here that certain aspect ratios just don't work very well. Depending on the model, a lot of the images are trained on, let's say, square images, a 1:1 aspect ratio. So deviating too much from that will result in really weird effects that happen in image generation. Personally, I like using the aspect ratios that you see here, but if you run into any issues with weird generations, it could be the resolution. The next node here is the upscale. This takes the resolution and upscales it to a bigger size. You want to start with a smaller size and upscale it because that's less stress for your GPU. Now next up we have our lower loader. I like using this RG3 power lower loader because it allows me to load multiple lowers in at once and allows me to change their strength and turn them on and off easily. Now this is a custom lower loader, so when you do drag it in, you will have to use your ComfyUI Manager here. Click on Install Custom Nodes, and it will install everything that you don't have. You can think of it as additional training that goes on top of your checkpoint. I personally like using detailed eyes and expressions, with detailed eyes set all the way up to 2. The strength is how much you want the LoRa to influence the overall image. But really, LoRa is all about your preferences. So if you have anything that you'd like to add, you can go check out different resources online like Civet AI, download the LoRa's, put them in your LoRa folder, and then it will show up here. The green box here is your positive prompts, and the red box here is your negative prompt. Now I like to use something called Easy Negative. You download it, put it into your embedded folder, and you simply put Easy Negative down here, and it just takes care of a lot of the negative prompts that you would typically want to include. In order to get the results you want to be more specific and add more context into your prompts. So let's say I want to change the setting to be a castle. I can add castle. If I want it to be nighttime, I can add that as well. Or let's say I want her to have a completely different outfit. I can even go with like black dress. Now, because I didn't indicate the color of her hair, it chose a random color. So let's change that and add in black hair. And you can really add a lot of other things too, like necklace, crown, like gloves, to really customize the image that you're looking for. Now, if coming up with prompts is something that you're not interested in, I do have some prompts for sale in the link down below. And I've also created this prompt browser so you can easily copy and paste them into ComfyUI. you simply click on Upload Pack on the top right, select your prompt pack, and it will bring in all the prompts into the prompt browser. So for this example here, we're going to click on the Copy All button, go back to ComfyUI, paste this in, that's your positive, and we're going to copy the negative as well down here, go over and paste that in, and let's run this. If you'd rather an anime style, you can switch over to a different checkpoint. The illustrious I find to be fairly good for anime style images, and we'll run this. And if you want to change your prompt, simply go back to the prompt browser, click on Copy All for the next prompt, paste it into your positive prompt, and you will get the next image. Now let's go through the case sampler. So this is where all of the magic actually happens. The first thing you have here is seed and what happens after you generate. Default set to randomize. I wouldn't really change this. If you were looking for a specific image online and they shared a seed with you, you can paste it in here. But overall, if you're generating for yourself, you typically just want a new image every single time you generate. The next thing down here is steps, which is how many times it goes through the denoising process. I like to go with 30. The higher the number, the longer it does take. If the number is too low, you kind of end up with some weird images. Let's set this to 2 and run it. Yeah, that didn't really work quite well. My recommendation here is to stick around 25 to 30. The next one here is CFG. You can think of CFG as like how close it adheres to your prompt. I recommend experimenting and seeing what you like, but for me, what has worked the best is anywhere from 2 to 6.5. The issue with going down to 2 is if you have some more complex things going on in your prompts, it might have a hard time figuring that out and adding it to your image, but for something as simple as leaning against the rail, going down to 2 is fine. As you can see here, going with 2 gives me a very different result from 6.5, but it still looks great. I find that once you go down to around 1, it doesn't really work as well. The colors aren't as vibrant. It's really brown and grayed out. So once again, I recommend anywhere from 2 to 6.5. Next up is sampler. Sampler is like the algorithm that it uses to generate the image. There are many of these. You can experiment if you like, but really I just stick with Euler. No need to change it. Scheduler as well. I like to just keep things as simple. I've experimented around, but I haven't really noticed any significant difference. Most people seem to use either simple or Keras. And the last one is denoising. So denoising, you want to keep above 9. Once you bring it below 9, let's say down to 8, you kind of get some weird results. You can see here that there is a difference between 0.95 and 1 in terms of the end result. Go with whatever works for you. Do some experimentation and figure out what you like the most. The VAE decode, it simply takes all the information and turns it into an image, and save image is what comes out. On save image, if you click on the file name prefix, you can change the name of your output to whatever you'd like, and these images are saved in your ComfyUI folder output. Now, I personally don't really care what the image name is, so I'm just going to change it to image. And there you go. This is how you can generate some not safe for work images for ComfyUI. Obviously, I won't be generating any for YouTube. Over here, you can just change the text in this to have whatever pose and whatnot you like. For me, the models that I find the most successful for generating images are Circus Mix and Illustrious. I personally don't like the realistic stuff because I get a huge sense of uncanny valley, but Pony Realism is a good place to start if you're looking for more realistic images. Once again, if you are interested in the workflow or any of my prompt packages, please click on the links down below. Thank you for watching.